Happy 4th of July, what is up you guys? My name is Nick and welcome to my channel where I cover all things entertainment. Whatever you're watching, I'm making videos about. And on Saturdays, I like to look at my favorite horror streaming service, Shudder, and find a good recommendation for you guys. And I'm kind of cheating today, but also it kind of counts because this is currently on Shudder and it's a solid 4th of July slasher, but mostly I just want to talk about one of my favorite horror movies ever.
I know what you did last summer.
That's right, it is one of my absolute favorites, and I want to talk about why and how I became a movie lover and started this channel and why I'm specifically a horror fanatic. For those who don't know, I Know What You Did Last Summer follows a group of 4 teenage friends who accidentally run over a man while out partying on the 4th of July. Believing that they murdered his ass, they decide to dump his body in the ocean, but kicker is, homeboy's still alive, and he comes back a year later to terrorize and murder them.
For the last year, 4 friends have kept a secret, but not all secrets stay buried.
Someone knows.
I Know What You Did Last Summer? Ooh.
I Know What You Did Last Summer is such a basic slasher movie. It's its greatest strength and greatest weakness. Now, I could try and do some deep video analysis. I could call this movie White Privilege the Horror Film and talk about how it actually has some prescient themes about your past coming back to haunt you. But no, this is just a fun slasher movie, and that's exactly why I love it. But I want to talk about how I became such a huge movie fan, especially at a young age, and how I've always loved movies and just need to talk about them in a YouTube channel so much because I'm just full of so much nerd energy. I gotta let it out. So we're getting into story time here. We're gonna get personal. This is gonna get real. I'm gonna tell you my whole life story. Just kidding, this isn't Dewey Cox. But it does begin with my oldest memory that I have, which is basically at this point like a memory of a memory. But I remember one night, it was my brother, my sister, my mom, and I sitting around in the living room, and we just saw commercial after commercial after commercial. Jurassic Park, now on VHS.
Today, kids are pedaling a little quicker, doing their homework and chores a little sooner, because the biggest motion picture of all time has finally come home on video cassette. Jurassic Park, now playing in homes everywhere.
To the point where we were like, we gotta watch Jurassic Park. So my mom and I ran up to the store. There was a display right inside. It was like a whole bunch of VHS tapes. We grabbed one, went home, watched it. Boom. Life changed forever. I love Jurassic Park. I just always will. I think we can all pretty much agree. It's just one of the greats. We're always gonna love it. Thank you, Steven Spielberg, for Jurassic Park. I love this movie so much. I watched it all the time. I even wanted to be an archaeologist for a little bit, like for all of 2 seconds, because once I found out that it did not entail being chased around an island by dinosaurs, I was like, movies, that's my thing. But as soon as I saw those raptors try and eat some kids in a kitchen, I became obsessed with thrilling movies and stuff that just genuinely scared and excited and entertained me as an audience member. And I started watching all of the creature features. I watched the Jaws movies a lot of Sci-Fi Channel original movies, really whatever I could get my hands on that I was allowed to watch. Now, I wasn't so much into horror. I was a bit of a scaredy cat, and some of the gory things out of like the original Jaws and stuff like that did get me, but I would always see my brother watching horror films in the living room. He of course would take up the main room, watch whatever he wanted, and you know, anytime I walked in the room, I was bound to catch something that scared the living shit out of me and gave me nightmares for weeks. And when I'm talking about walked in on a horror movie, I mean, I walked in on him watching The Shining, and out of all 2.5 hours of that movie, I happened to only catch the worst parts. Lady in the bathtub, little girls down the hallway, Jack Nicholson breaking down the bathroom door. I saw all of that at 6. Really shouldn't have. I still think The Shining is absolutely terrifying because I was marked by that movie. But I was a huge scaredy cat. I would see a bunch of those scenes and I was like, I don't want any part of that. I like my nice, light, comfortable monster movies. They're fun. I pretty much think that monster movies and slashers are one and the same. They really follow the same formula. and I love it. So I'm like 7, right? And we're a strong blockbuster going family, going, 2-3 times a week. We were really intense and passionate about that blockbuster love. And so I was really on an Anaconda kick for a minute, and I gotta say, I rewatched that movie recently. No wonder. That movie is absolutely wild. Anaconda is crazy. If you haven't watched that in a minute, it's worth a rewatch, I'm telling you. But there was something especially interesting about the Anaconda VHS tape that I had to rent over and over again, because at the beginning of the tape, in the middle of the trailers, was I Know What You Did Last Summer. I rented that tape over and over to watch that trailer over and over, which is pretty much the entire movie in 2 minutes. You can just watch that. It's very entertaining. I love it. I still think it's the best horror movie trailer ever because it's exactly what pulled me into horror. And from then on, I would see I Know What You Did Last Summer on the shelf at Blockbuster, and I would walk by and I'd just be like, oh gosh, I really want to watch it. And I mean, like, again, I'm 7 at this time. My mom is looking into what I'm watching, and I mustered up the balls to be like, Mom, I really want to watch I Know What You Did Last Summer. Please let me watch it. It looks so good. Please, I promise I won't have nightmares. I super duper promise I will be your best friend forever. And my mom mostly just didn't want me to watch anything with boobs in it, which is hilarious. And there's definitely none of that in I Know What You Did Last Summer, but we would go to Blockbuster all the time. It felt like this happened over the course of months, but it was probably just a few weeks. But I would stand behind the other shelves and I would like watch my mom walk up to the case for I Know What You Did Last Summer, pick it up, look at it maybe, give it a thought, and then put it right back down like, nope, not today, little Nick.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
And I was pretty tore up for like a while. I was bitching about this movie a lot because even though I didn't care for a lot of scary movies and my mom knew it was gonna scare the living shit out of me, I really needed to see it. Again, I loved movies since I was 5 years old. It's just been my thing. I just love them. And you know how it is when there's a movie you want to see, you have got to see it. And then the day finally came. It finally came when I stood there at Blockbuster practically soiling my little shorts, and I saw my mom pick up the case for I Know What You Did Last Summer, and she put it right in the pile with what we were renting that night. I rejoiced. I honestly died and gone to heaven before I even saw the thing. It was one of the first battles I ever won as a kid. I'll never forget it. So even though I couldn't wait to see this movie, I'm telling you again, I was a scaredy cat of a kid. And so I was like, okay, listen, I want to see this movie, but I'm not watching it tonight. I'm going to watch it in the morning with the sunlight when I have my whole day to try to get over it. So I don't know what we did that night. I don't know. I just chilled, probably just stayed up all night waiting to be able to watch this movie without immediately having nightmares. And so that morning, my brother watched it with me because he, I think, mostly wanted to just like see my reaction and make fun of me. But of course, he was also a horror lover, and I think he was like, yeah, sure, I'll watch this. This is gonna be fun. So we had a little room, like a den, like off of our living room. It was a little TV room with a door. So like we went in there, my brother and I, shut the door. We're like locked in our little I Know What You Did Last Summer world, and we're watching this, and I was immediately, guys, I almost just said I was immediately hooked. You know what? Fuck it. I love a pun. I was hooked. I was right into this movie. I loved it right off the bat. I just loved Sarah Michelle Gellar. I was a Buffy watcher as a kid, so I was just very happy to be seeing her in this movie. She's my favorite. Sarah Michelle Gellar, true American hero as far as I'm concerned. Many will criticize this movie for being so light, and really, honestly, it's only R for like the F-bombs. If it was made today, they would have cut those and made it PG-13, but I still got so sucked in and was just scared because even though I had seen monster movies where people get eaten by sharks and crocodiles and things, I had never seen someone just like pick up a hook and just fucking murder somebody. Like, that's crazy. That's ridiculous. Why are we even doing that? But watching, I was just like, oh, this is so scary. And it's so good. And because most of the movie is just Jennifer Love Hewitt and Sarah Michelle Gellar hanging out and like, Ryan Phillippe taking a shower, I was just like, this is a very easy breezy fun movie to watch. I can deal with horror. Like, this is okay. This is cool. And then people just start dropping. Like, Barry, Ryan Phillippe's character, is just like the number one person you want out of this movie. And he's the first to go. And like, cool. But like, I had just spent so much time with the characters. I just really didn't expect things to, you know, really progress further. I was like, yeah, I think it's scary enough to see SMG get her hair cut.
He's after me too. I got a letter. I got run over. Helen gets her hair chopped off. Julie gets a body in a truck and you get a letter? That's balance.
And then we get to the best part of the movie. The big chase scene. I love it. It's the best. It's everything. But that was the part when I was like, oh no, Buffy's doomed. Buffy is gonna die. And at that point, I was just like, you know, you might see an actor in different things, but you're just a kid and you're just like, no, Buffy's like supposed to save the day. I could tell she wasn't gonna in this one, but you know what? I still didn't want to see her go down like that. As soon as she jumps out that window, I jumped right out of the room. I was like, nope, I cannot see this or hear this or acknowledge anything about this. So I just went into the living room with my mom and sister for a minute, took a break. My mom was like, are you okay? You good? And I was like, yeah, no, I'm just here for, just on a smoke break, no big deal. And so then I go back in and I'm just like, okay, lay it on me, brother. And he's like, Buffy died. But I was there just in time for Jennifer Love Hewitt to get on the boat for the final chase scene. So it worked out. I was there. It was perfect. I knew things were going to be fine from there on out. You know, obviously it was like time for the final girl circuit, but I was feeling strong watching it anyway. You know what? Because I was like, maybe I should just turn this off. Maybe I should just be done, blah, 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 blah. But I was like, no, I'm here. I'm going to stick it through. I am the final girl. I'm going to make it through this. But I actually was a little affected by it. I was like, you know what? That was good, but it also was a little scary because now I know that murder is a thing. And I'm really worried about murder now. And I just had nightmares. I remember for like a few months, I had nightmares of just the fisherman just coming into my room and just like standing there with his hook. And I was just like, fucking do something, dude. Like, why are you here? So I mostly stayed away from horror after that. I still watched my creature features, and I kind of felt like that was sort of like my thing. That kind of tided me over for a little bit. You know, I had Deep Blue Sea that came out. That was a real big deal for me. And then I watched some, you know, other sci-fi movies. Like, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Ended up on the Sci-Fi Channel and watched, you know, the edited version of that a lot. I would watch things like that, but I wasn't into horror, especially the way I am now. And then came the summer of 2002, and a little movie called Signs came out. My sister and I were hanging out with our cousins that whole summer, and we had like just gone to see Men in Black 2, and then we're like, oh, Signs, another like summer alien movie, this should be cool. The opening credits scared me. The opening credits of Signs were so intense, I was like, oh my god, what can aliens do? I think aliens are scary, you guys.
Move, children! Vámonos!
Está atrás de garage! Está atrás de ahí! Es behind!
And they did scare me. The aliens scared the living crap out of all of us. But we had such a fun time. After that, we were like running around afraid of aliens and stuff. I was 11 at that point. And so I was getting older. Probably should have been able to handle Signs at that point. But anyway, really enjoyed Signs. Saw it a couple of times. And then a couple months later, another little movie called The Ring came out. And no, I did not know anything about, you know, a previous version. I didn't know anything about remakes or what have yous at that time. I didn't even know anything about The Ring. I didn't even know anything about it. All I heard was one headline after another. The Ring, scariest movie ever. Scariest movie ever. I'm just like, yeah, let me just waltz into that one. Yeah, The Ring absolutely destroyed me for a long time. You know the end when Samara comes out of the TV. I truly out loud in the theater was just yelling, no fucking way. But yeah, that's what was happening. That was my ultimate fear. I'm like, oh my god, something coming out of the TV. I'm always watching the TV. From there, I just started looking for horror films, whatever was playing on TV or at other friends' houses or whatever. I just started opening myself up to it and started watching a little bit more and more. I remember watching Final Destination a little bit after like The Ring, like around that time. And I was like walking in and out of the room. I was like, this is making me really anxious. I think my entire house could kill me. And And that was the beginning of my horror-loving journey. It took a little while, but I Know What You Did Last Summer opened me up to different kinds of movies. And that's why I think it's really so special for me personally, because I wanted nothing to do with horror films in the beginning of my overall movie lover journey, but I thought I'll give it a try, and I realized they're my favorite. They're just my favorite. I don't consider I Know What You Did Last Summer a guilty pleasure at all, because it's just enjoyable. It might be stupid, it might not be great, but it's also not the point. It's just like, movies are there to entertain, and that's really the whole point of my channel. I just want to be able to recommend what I think will entertain you, whether it be something as dumb as I Know What You Did Last Summer.
That's not the way it goes. The boy goes for help, and the girl stays in the car, and she hears this, like, scratching sound.
No, he's been decapitated. No, he was gutted with a hook.
So let's talk about I Know What You Did Last Summer, because I do really enjoy this movie. I rewatched it as soon as I saw it pop up on Shudder. I was like, oh yes, thank you, this is just in time. And you know what? It's like, it's not the best. It has some bad story elements and just some dumb stuff. It's what I call slumber party horror. It's light and breezy. It's something you want to kind of throw on and watch with friends. It's easy, enjoyable. It's comfort viewing. I Know What You Did Last Summer was based on a book by Lois Duncan, which I of course read as soon as I found out that this movie was based on a book. I read all of Lois Duncan's stuff. I got into all of it. But the movie was written by Kevin Williamson, who had just come off of doing Scream. And I think the reason, even though I Know What You Did Last Summer, like, people might not realize, like, this was extremely successful, like, really successful. Like, I got Nerd Brain. I remember it made, like, somewhere around, like, $70 million in 1997 money. Like, that's not very far behind Scream. This really contributed to that late 90s horror boom that I love so much. But I think a lot of people wanted this to be Scream, and although there's some, you know, annoyingly witty dialogue, it's definitely not Scream. It's more of what Scream was making fun of, and I can see exactly why people would just trash it.
And the mistake they made.
It was an accident.
There was no accident. It was murder.
What if he's still alive? Hey! What are you doing here?
Is coming back to haunt them.
I like that it uses horror to question moral decisions. You know, the story is all about what do you do in this situation and what are the consequences that you should deal with after. It's one of the reasons I've grown to love horror, because I love being able to have a space where we can actually explore those questions and themes and storylines, because you don't get that properly done in a comedy. If this was a comedy, it would be Scary Movie. We all know how good Scary Movie is. What's really made me always connect to I Know What You Did Last Summer, and what sort of informed my opinion as a horror fan going forward, is I like the focus on the characters. They are not actually the greatest group of characters, but I do like that the film spends so much time with them before things get really serious, because even if, you know, Ryan Phillippe is playing an asshole, by the time he bites it, it's unfortunate, because at the very least you see how it affects Sarah Michelle Gellar's character. And it's sad, there's some emotional weight there. Even if it really isn't earned the best way, it's still more than we can say about most slashers. And listen, I'm a huge slasher fan, I'm a slasher apologist, I would say, but we can all agree, even the most diehard slasher films, that slashers do have the weakest character development of pretty much any subgenre of horror, except for most found footage. But again, I like what this movie is trying to explore. It's like, we've seen these people do this terrible event and we should immediately hate them. But the movie, I think, humanizes them in a real way, and like a, hey, you made a huge mistake kind of way, and not, you know, glorifying, you know, drunk driving and running people over. Barry is an asshole, so he kind of gets what's coming to him. Ray isn't really even in the movie, like, at all. He's in, like, the beginning and the end, and in the middle they're trying to make him a red herring, and it's like, we all know Freddie Prinze Jr. is not the killer. Come on, please. Who do you take me for? I was 7 and I knew. Julie James is honestly like the worst final girl of all time. She's pretty awful. She's just like, her thing is she's depressed, so you should care for her. Okay. But I do really like Jennifer Love Hewitt in the role, especially when she pops up in the sequel, because I do have some love for that super garbage sequel. And of course, Sarah Michelle Gellar as Helen. I've already laid out my connection to her, but especially rewatching it as an adult, I think she really brings something to the role other than just name recognition, because I think Helen is actually the most interesting character in this group, and I think why I've always sort of become like attached to the like slutty blonde character in these movies, because that's not at all who Helen is. That's what she looks like at first. But Helen is shit on this whole movie. She like fails at life. Her family's awful to her. She has no friends, and she's really just trying to like get by. And I think Sarah Michelle Gellar specifically, she brings some little nuances, like that scene before her hair gets cut when she comes home, and just like the way she sort of is treated by her family and sort of reacts back to them. It's just like, you really end up caring for her, which is why that chase scene is so effective. I mean, it's just so good. You can see that whole chase scene out of context, and it's just plain so good anyway. But you really care watching the movie because you care about Helen. You don't just care about Sarah Michelle Gellar as Buffy in this movie. No, you care about Helen because Helen did not deserve to die. And she really fucking gets it. And it's so sad. It's so sad. Again, this is just something that I don't really get out of most other horror films. Something I can say about I Know What You Did Last Summer, all right? That, of course, brings me to the chase. The best part of I Know What You Did Last Summer is, of course, when Helen is chased by the fishermen all across town. It is so well choreographed. It's so well done. I'm sorry, I just can't stop talking about it. It's so good. It's really, I think, right up there with the main chase in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Like, this would be like maybe number 2 because, you know, props to the original. That is like what I look for in other slasher films. I love a good chase scene. I love all of that stuff. Like, that's what I want. That's the type of action I want out of one of these movies. A lot of people complain, you know, nothing really happens and no one really dies in this movie, low kill count, whatever. But I actually think that's a good thing because they do kill off, you know, some side characters like a police officer, the sister, whatever, Johnny Galecki's character. Like, they do add some extra kills, and I think anything more than that would have really distracted from our main characters in the main storyline. Even though it is quite simple, I think it's giving that time to these characters. Even though they're not the best, you still end up forming an attachment because you begin to understand them, even if you don't like them. And I think it's good that they took the time to build up the character development and then throw these 2 women into chase scenes. You know what I mean? I think that makes it far more effective, and why, especially as a kid, I became really attached to this movie. I also want to talk about the killer because, you know what, I really think because people just want to make fun of this movie that the fisherman just kind of gets a bad rap, which, you know, whatever. I don't know. I hate to compare. Some of you are really going to want to disagree with this, but personally, I think obviously this movie is compared to Scream a lot for a lot of obvious reasons. But I have to say, I think when it comes to the killer, that the fisherman, it kind of wins for me. I just think the look is so good. The slicker with the hook. The ghost face mask has always just been funny to me, probably because I saw a Scary Movie before Scream, so it kind of ruined it a little bit. But, you know, Scream is still so good, of course. But I'm just saying, the fisherman look, or Ben Willis if you want to be a stickler, whatever, I don't care. I just like that look. It just feels like a horror icon to me. And a lot of people will disagree because they'll be like, well, he doesn't really earn icon status. Well, I don't really care. Dude gave me nightmares for months, so earned it for me. I have been going on about I Know What You Did Last Summer for like 40 minutes now. This video is going to be way longer than it needs to be. And if you have made it to this point in it, you know what? Thank you so much. I really just wanted to talk about why I'm a movie lover and a horror fan, and why I want to talk to other movie lovers and horror fans out here on the great internet. I know YouTube is a big place, and I just really appreciate everyone who has been around, and that's why I'm here. You know, let me know what your journeys are in the comments below. Let me know what's made you a fan or a horror fan or whatever. If you hate I Know What You Did Last Summer, leave all of your hate comments. Maybe I deserve them. My goal is to talk to you guys about what is entertaining and what is fun and what we love about movies. And I'm not looking to try and be any definitive opinion. I'm just trying to express my opinion. And for everyone who is you guys have just shown so much love recently. Just seriously so much. I could maybe, you know, see a turnaround by the time this video is posted, but still, so many of you have just had so many great things to say, and I just really appreciate that. It's exactly why I'm here, for this whole purpose. So, you know what? Thank you so much. I know I'm bringing this in for a landing. Again, I cover all things entertainment, TV, movies, streaming, whatever. I'm all over the place. I'm just trying to do whatever I really want when it comes to movies. Hence this video. Again, normally on Saturdays, I like to look at what's new on Shudder or find a classic favorite, and that is exactly what I did here, but I also, you know, I wanted to lay out the journey. So there it is. Thank you so much again. Don't forget to comment on this video. Complain about how long this is. I don't care, but like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to watch this now, because that's it for this video, but I won't stop you from watching another.